Welcome to Purpose Pivots, conversations about aligned change. I'm Irina Young, a certified purpose coach, and I'm so excited to welcome Angie Bailey to today's conversation. After 32 years as a registered nurse, Angie made a purpose pivot when burnout and chronic illness pushed her to rethink how she was living and working. Calligraphy, once a creative outlet, became a mindfulness practice that helped her slow down and reconnect with herself. She is now the founder of Calming Calligraphy, helping high stress individuals and organizations use creativity as a pathway to calm and resilience. Angie, oh my God, I love your story.
Thank you, Irina. It's so great to be here.
We met in such a fun way. We were at Kathy Heller's retreat, and I loved your energy as soon as I met you, and that fun practice that we got to do with you, where we took our word, our intention for the year, and got to write it in calligraphy. You made it so easy and doable.
That was so fun. And it can be easy and doable. I mean, a lot of people get very intimidated by calligraphy, but it really is just a combination of strokes that combine to form letters and then words.
There we go. And just reading your bio, burnout and identity stood out a lot for me. And then how creativity was like the support and the thread through it all. So I would love to hear about
Mhm.
that in our
Yes.
conversation today. Before we get into what you're doing now, it'd be helpful to go back and hear about what you did before. So we know you were in nursing. How did you get into
Mhm.
that? How did you choose that path?
Actually, I didn't choose that path.
Oh,
So I wanted to be an artist. I didn't really know what kind of artist I wanted to be. This was through high school. I was an average student. I was there just to be social mainly. I
good
didn't
reason.
study much, got by and I was happy with that. But I loved the arts, performing arts, visual arts. And when it was time to decide what to do post-secondary, I said to my parents, yeah, I want to go to the art school. I'm not sure what I want to do. I did pitch them the idea that I wanted to be a graphic artist because then I figured,
Mm,
well, that's a real title. And I had a friend who was a graphic artist and he was, incredible guy, very artistic, and he would encourage me. My father said, so you want to be a starring artist? And my mother said, do you really think you're good enough? And that kind of weighed heavy on me. And my mother said, why don't you go into nursing? And I mean, I took biology in school, but it wasn't my favorite subject or anything. I think part of me thought to myself, yeah, I'm not good enough because I had lots of friends who were very artistic and were really amazing. And when I compared myself to them, I thought, no. But I was hoping to go to art school to kind of, try to tap into that and try to figure out what I really wanted to do. But nonetheless, I went into nursing. I really did not like nursing school. For the first time, I had to study, and I didn't know
mm,
how. I
mhm.
didn't know how to study because I never did. I never really had to. But when it came to practical parts of the nursing, I was always the first one to do it. And excellent, everybody do it like Angie did. Like, so I was very good at the hands-on. And of course, I am a caring person. I care for people. But at the end of the 3 years, it was like, oh my gosh, I don't know where my place is here. But my last 7 weeks was in the operating room.
Okay.
So we got to choose different places that we wanted to try. And it was very difficult. I don't know how, by some miracle, I got the OR. And then when I was there, I thought, oh, this is so different. I can do this. And then
Mm.
I've always worked in the OR. I've loved the OR. So that's a long answer to your question. But yes, I've always worked 32 years in the operating room.
Wow. I mean, there's so much just to say about that. I think a lot of people can relate to maybe wanting to go one path and then getting nudged, sometimes gently, sometimes not so
Yeah.
gently, in another direction. I can certainly relate to that. My family came here as immigrants, and doctor or lawyer were the only two jobs available on the planet. It's just so interesting how external feedback can really shape the decisions that we make. And early knowledge of ourselves never quite goes away, right? Like you kind of knew what you wanted to do. And I love the full circle moment, right? Because we know where you are now and we know that you ended up getting there. So, of course, the story, yay, the story of the purpose pivot is what we're here to do. And I also like hearing that you were able to find enjoyment in what you did. I mean, you did it for 32 years, right?
Yes.
I'm glad that there was a place for you. And I think that's also a lesson that no matter where you are, maybe it's a micro pivot within your industry, right? It was the OR for you versus a different type of nursing. So, in any situation, how can you optimize to find the thing that works the best for you? And then 1 degree turns is what I like to say toward the thing that really is lighting you up. So, tell me about the pivot. When did it start? Was there a breaking point? Was there a wake up call?
So over those 32 years, I would say I had a few really good years of being actually quite happy there, especially when I worked in my very first job at the Wellesley Hospital in Toronto. It was just incredible. They took me under their wing. That's where I learned everything. Then I moved back to the city where I was born, and I was in it was another great teaching hospital. We did a lot of trauma.
Mm,
And it was very exciting, and I really enjoyed that. And every time I made a pivot to a new hospital, I would enjoy it for a little while, and then it'd be like it would start to become a little mundane at some point. I would keep myself engaged and happy by moving around. Maybe the first 5 years at a place I'd really enjoy, and then it'd be like, oh, like, I don't know, maybe it's time to leave nursing.
mm,
And then I'd go to another hospital and learn something new. I'm still doing that learning. I love to learn. The last hospital that I was at, it was a day job, which was fantastic, but it was extremely repetitive,
mm.
not in a good way. So there were small signs along the way, but I ignored them. But the last hospital that I was at, I got a big sign one day. A surgical resident asked me to open up a specialty instrument for her. So I went to grab it to open it up for her, and she was wearing a pendant. And on her pendant was a bird flying out of a cage.
Wow.
Okay. Just gonna cry. Just
Mm,
that moment, I was like, oh my God, I put myself here and I really need to get out.
wow.
And that was between 2011 and 2014.
Okay.
And I didn't leave till 2021.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I was at that same place, and I try to find different ways to make it fun and exciting. And Angie, it's a day job. You're so lucky. And so, anyhow, I ignored signs. And then that was a big sign. But then I just kind of covered it up and pretended like it didn't happen. And I gotta keep going, gotta keep making money. So I cycled through burnout several times during my career. But burnout is different for people. Like some people just cannot move anymore and they're frozen. I'm not that person. I was the person that kept going on the treadmill. And there's so many people like me doing what they believe is expected of them, wanting to be productive, don't want to be a quote failure, right? So we just keep going, but the joy is kind of sucked out of our lives. So it was sucked out of my work life. Off and on and off and on. I would try to keep it fun and exciting as much as possible. But in 2014, I hit the wall. I still did not miss a day at work. But I came home from work one day and I just lied on the couch and I was a zombie.
Mm,
That never happened to me before. Like I can't nap. I'm one of these people that, oh, why don't you rest? I cannot rest. I need to do like an engaged, calm kind of activity. That is my rest. So that's what calligraphy for me was all about. But as far as resting, I couldn't do that. But yeah, lo and behold, I get home from work one day. I fall asleep on the couch. My husband tries to wake me up at dinner time when he comes home. Hey, what's going on? You didn't start dinner. And it's like, Dave, I'm done. So he cooked dinner that night and tried to wake me up. Meanwhile, the kids are like playing, screaming. I'm not hearing any of it. Tries to wake me up for dinner. Do not wake up for dinner.
wow.
Wakes me up at 11 o'clock, helps me to go to sleep, sleep like the dead.
Mm.
Next day, go to work. So I was working part-time at this time, so only 3 shifts a week.
Okay.
So I'd show up for my job,
Yep.
show up, show up, show
Yep.
up. But then I'd get home and I was dead. It was so bizarre. And this lasted for a couple weeks. And despite the fact that I did not eat dinner every night,
I
I gained 20 pounds. So I ended up being diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is a chronic condition. People look at me, it really is one of these invisible type of things because people look at me like, there's nothing wrong with her. But it comes in waves. And when I go too hard on something, like I become very overwhelmed. I have brain fog. I have so many symptoms, and somehow I manage. But yeah, it can be tough. So that was my wake up call when this happened to me. My doctor, I found a great functional medicine doctor who had put me on a strict diet. Like, okay, Angie, I was doing boot camp type of exercise at the time because it was so in. And he's like, no, you have to stop doing that. Get
Mm,
outside in nature, do very exercise, but calm things like walk, yoga. I had never done yoga before because I'm
mm.
a really, high energy type person. I thought, can I really do that? But I did it. And then major change in diet. So it was an autoimmune paleo diet.
Wow.
No corn, no dairy, no soy, no
Yep.
gluten.
My goodness.
Yeah, and so I was very strict for about 3 months, and I started to get a little bit better. And then I went to see him, and I said, I'm feeling a little bit better, but not even close to as good as I did the day before I hit the wall. And so he said, he's such an amazing man. He said, "What are you doing for you?" And I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh," and I'm like, "You're a doctor, and you're asking me this?" Like shock. And
Yep.
I said, doing for me, I'm doing nothing for me. I'm going to work and then I'm coming home and I can't do anything else. And he said, Angie, you have to have, do you have any hobbies? Do you like sports? Do you like art? And I said to him, I used to do calligraphy when I was a kid. And he could see my face light up and he's like, I order you to go home
Love
and
it.
do calligraphy. I said, I haven't done it in decades. Well, how did you learn before? I said, well, I taught myself. He says, teach yourself again.
Oh,
So I thought, okay, you know what? I really like this guy. He's helping me. I'm gonna listen. And so I started doing the calligraphy and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like I'm this is actually very calming. And I never put two and two together.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I have chills right now because it is something that you did by choice as a kid. You taught yourself, and just how our bodies are so wise, right? We ignore the small, quiet signs sometimes for good reason. And then at some point, it's not a nudge anymore.
Mhm.
And it's fascinating how what you do for you and how you share your light, which is how I define purpose, sharing your light, can
Mhm.
have physical, we'll call it consequences, right? Because we get filled up when we share who we are and bring that to the world. What a wise doctor. So you start doing calligraphy, you start feeling better. Tell me more about that. Was it just your own hobby? Did you start getting ideas of like, I need to share this with people?
Yeah, so I started doing it for myself and I called up my sisters who don't do calligraphy. One is learning it. Well, actually, they both came to my workshop, so they both started to learn. When we were young, they bought me the calligraphy kit when I was 10
Mm,
years old, and
mhm.
they're 5 and 7 years older than me. So I sat there and taught myself. When I started calligraphy again, I said, oh my gosh, I'm doing calligraphy again. It's so relaxing. I can't believe it. And they said, yeah, we know. And I said, what do you mean we know? You don't do it. And they said, when we bought you that kit, like you were finally out of our hair, you would sit there for hours and not bug us. So I started practicing myself and I thought, you know what? Like 5, 10 minutes a day is all it took to like let me exhale. And just thinking about it now, sitting in my seat now, and just remembering that, it's like, yeah, I'm exhaling right now and I'm feeling the calm. And it's so great. And so I would go to my job and, I'd have my clipboard and I would practice faux calligraphy on my lunch break.
Yep. Yep.
And the other nurses would say, like, what are you doing? Is that like a coloring pages? And I said, well, sort of, but this is calligraphy. And they said, we want to learn that. So I started teaching my colleagues. And then I taught a few workshops at the hospital for the nurses in my department, the nurses throughout the hospital. And then during COVID, I ended up teaching online. So at the hospital still, but like administrators were coming in because
Wow.
sadly the nurses could not take a break during the day. When
Mm.
I would teach it, it was always after hours. So this was like a lunch and learn thing. So lots of administrators would be there. And yeah, they found it very helpful. And so when I realized, oh, it's not just me that is gaining benefits of
Mhm.
this, because really, like doing calligraphy is like one of those repetitive, but in a good way.
Mhm.
Like, like you're in this rhythm, it's repetitive, you have focus. It creates safety in the body. It's nervous system regulation. So I was feeling it for myself, but didn't even realize what was happening as it was happening. And then when I started teaching it, I was getting all of these remarks from people.
Right.
Wow, like I didn't think I could do this. But besides that, that was really calming. Like I could actually sit back and take a breath and relax. And I thought, wow, that's so awesome that something that I'm finding to be like the best thing in the world, other people are finding this too. So then I started teaching more and more. And, I've taught at other corporations, at workshops, retreats, and yeah, so it's very exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, I just love it.
I mean, I could tell.
I'm so happy. I am so happy that I mean, things happen the way they're supposed to. And if it weren't for that doctor asking me, I don't know if I would have found my way back to it. It was a miracle.
You did, and here you are, and the amount of people. I always like thinking about the ripple effect of us sharing our light to
Yeah.
even if you focus with nurses or doctors, like can you the care that they would be able to provide their patients would be better because their nervous system is in a different place. It is I find calligraphy to be like it's kind of like a art moving meditation, right? Rather than like sitting and maybe some people repeat a mantra and there's that repetition. It's you're moving your body and yeah, the rhythm in it is so peaceful and you're creating beauty. Beauty, I think, is an
Mhm.
underrated aspect and value. I can go on and on. I know your company's calming calligraphy and it is calming. I just love that you rediscovered it so that you can share it with people and you are. So I'd love to hear what life work looks like now. Do you feel more in your purpose? How is your energy? How is your health?
I do feel that I am living my purpose now, but I have to be careful as somebody who likes to strive. Like I can get on that same treadmill of burnout, even within this beautiful community that I've created. It's hard to explain. I just want it to be more organic. I want it to come, and it does come from my heart, but I still feel that pressure to be financially successful in this. And it's so funny because lately I am getting a lot more financial success in this,
Mm-hmm.
not recreating the same stress
Right.
as in my old job, like the same stress in new packaging kind of thing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And when I'm with people and they get lit up, it lights me up too. In a roundabout way, I just want to say that I still need to remember to nourish myself. I have a tendency of overbooking myself as well, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did do that this month. And then I had some workshops that were postponed. I
Wow.
thought this worked out exactly how it was supposed to.
I feel like that stuff does work out for us too. And again, whether it's a health thing or a meeting being pushed or canceled, we are guided and supported. Are we willing to listen and trust that? Nursing, which is super intense for 32 years, and there's like an unlearning that happens in pivots. We get so used to operating a certain way. Before becoming a purpose coach, I was at Google for 13 years. That was my career being in
Right? I
corporate,
forgot.
a super intense environment,
Oh, yeah.
overall a relatively positive one when it comes to corporate, but still you're working with the smartest people in the world and the expectations are quite high and you're responsible for a lot and your meetings and your calendar is very back to back to back and then hard pivot to running your own thing and being a purpose coach, right? So there's an identity pivot there as well. And
Absolutely.
I felt like in the beginning, there's a lot of just recreating the structures that I knew from Google, and they've been so, so helpful as well. And I love that you named it because people think like I made the change and now everything just fits into place. Like there's still a transition that happens mentally, physically, spiritually, energetically. There's so many components to change and
Mhm.
transition. And I mean, it's a lot of the reason why I love doing conversations like this is just to show what it's really like, you know? And one thing I wanted to ask you too is, did you find that there were transferable skills from your nursing life into what you're doing now? Because
Yes, absolutely. The main one was caring for people, right? So I cared for people for so many years in a certain way. And then when I was teaching them this, I realized this is just another way of caring for people. And there were so many incredible skills as a nurse, especially as an OR nurse,
mm,
that you gain. And when there's something, a part of my business that is, outside of my scope, I think, you know what? I'm a nurse. I can do anything.
yes, yes,
And I figure it out.
Chorus.
At some point, I would like to hire somebody to do those things that I don't like, and that will happen. I
Yes.
don't have that right now, but I'm figuring it out.
I love that you mentioned that. One of the things that I work on with my clients is figuring out their archetype,
Yes.
kind of like your temperament. It is the essence of who you are. That is fixed. How you go about sharing that is different. In fact, you said you're caring, right? Like that's sort of the common thread for you. So there's a nurturer archetype, which I'm curious if that's one of the ones that you have. And you could have been a kindergarten teacher, right? Like you can make pottery with your hands. Like there are so many ways to
Yeah.
show up. So it's not so much what you're doing. It's more of like, are you doing the thing that you are here to share? And it sounds like you are. And again, no matter where you are, how can you do more of that thing while you move in the direction that you really would like to go? Has your definition of success changed at all? Because you're saying you went into nursing with a little bit of this sense of like, maybe security, but maybe also you even said when you were considering creative things, you're like graphic designer, at least that has a title that people can understand, right? So there's a little bit of success that's tied to that, right? People like
Yes.
understanding what you do, and maybe there's some clout around it. Maybe it feels impressive. So I'm curious if
Mm.
you pivoted your definition of success with this change.
I'm still working on that mindset, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. It's a process.
Intellectually, I know that success comes in different forms. But yes, with the nursing job, yeah, security for sure. And at that time, I really thought starving artist, that's all you heard.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I still have work to do around that, to be honest.
Yeah. I love the self awareness though, right? Because the whole thing is a journey and it's not like
Mhm.
a linear journey. I think of it as a spiral that deepens.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
where are you on the spiral? And you're never done. That's the other thing. It's not like you're like, now I'm at the pinnacle purpose
Oh
point and
gosh.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the trajectory of the whole thing, is like you start sort of informally teaching it to people. And then at some point, you do it outside of the job you're already in. And then you're maybe like, let me create a website. I got this other speaking opportunity. I got this. And it's like one step at a time, sort of continues to light the path. So I think
Yes.
that's also kind of fun. And to your point of like figuring it out as you go, it's the only way you can do it because we do not know what is coming up and what every single action that we take, where it'll go. And so that's
Yes.
why you may as well follow what's exciting.
I agree. And you're so right. Like one step at a time does keep it exciting because I do like to learn and grow and change.
Love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish that people knew about starting over?
Yeah, so it is scary and we often and I did stop myself from making a big change for a long time. In fact, I left my job in 2021 because I had a panic attack on a ward that I was sent to during a COVID outbreak. I was very uncomfortable there because it was completely out of my scope of practice. I'd never had a panic attack before. And so honestly, I'd love to be able to say, yeah, I came to that decision myself, but it was like I couldn't breathe. I'm in the washroom. I'm having a panic attack. And I called my boss at the end of the day and said, I can't do this. I'm staying home until the OR opens again. Oh, but we need you on the floor. And then I said, I quit. That's it. I'm done.
And that was how you quit because you were just
So
like,
that's how I quit. So I felt like the universe was helping to, Angie, like, what the hell are you doing?
I mean,
You should have left a long time ago. So
yeah.
I want to say it was a big courageous act, but it is scary, and sometimes
Yep.
these things happen, and it's the best thing that ever happened, to be honest,
Right. Yeah.
right? You always hear that on the other side of change.
It's so relatable. There are a lot of people who are at the point that you are at, right? I think you're like, oh, I wish I could have said no, but like this is when people really listen because you can't ignore it anymore. And so it's like, what are you
Yeah,
going to do now? And by the way, like quitting can work for some people and sort of taking that leap, not for others, but it always starts with awareness, naming the thing. And then you could sort of figure out, all right, what am I doing with this? Because just continuing on autopilot is, if we want to talk about spirals,
yeah,
we can have a downward spiral, we could have an upward spiral, right? So which way do we want to go? That was your journey, and other people are probably listening and like, oh my god, I'm there now. I wonder if that's why I can't sleep, or that's why my hair's falling out, or whatever it is.
yes,
Because a lot of the things that are like doctors can't quite diagnose it, it can really be a purpose related thing, which sounds
absolutely.
kind of
Oh, I so
crazy
agree.
because it's more energetic, it's less tangible. But I've heard this enough times to start seeing a trend and a pattern. I think your story is incredibly relatable and helpful. And of course, you are on the other side of it, which is why it's so helpful to share it for the people who are not yet on the other side of it. All right. So before we wrap, I would love for you to share where people can find you. Do you have a website?
Yes, I do. My website is Calming Calligraphy. And you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram. That's the social media that I'm on most of the time, at Calming Calligraphy as well. I'm at Calming Calligraphy everywhere. And I have something too for your audience. I have a freebie. It's a booklet of faux calligraphy. And so they can see how easy it really is. So it's very similar to like one of those coloring book type.
Oh, I want that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share the link to that below, along with your website and your Instagram. Angie, thank you so much. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for taking this step when you took this step to share calligraphy with the world. It's life changing for people, and you are having a huge impact. So, no big deal or anything like that, but keep doing what you're doing. And again, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you so much, Irina. I really enjoyed talking to you today.